Live. Yeah, we're live.
We're
Hi, thank you
live.
so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to
Yeah,
be
how are
here.
you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. I'm doing really well today.
Amazing. Well, it's really good to have you here. I'm very excited about this.
Thanks. Me too.
Just to give a bit of an intro, though, like literally no intro is needed, for sure. But Gavin Shapiro is a 3D designer animator. His ultimate goal is to produce work that makes us smile, which I think you do really, really well. So thank you for
Thanks.
being here
Yeah,
with me. Yeah, I think if you're good, I think I just wanted to deep dive straight into the first big question that
sure.
pops into my mind when I think about your work, which is flamingos.
So why flamingos, right?
Yeah, why
Um,
flamingos?
That's a good question. So let's see. When I first started making personal work, I was at a point where I realized I didn't like have a style at all. I had just been freelancing for 10 years or so, and I could do a lot of different things, but I never had like a cohesive style that was my own. So I started trying to explore that really intentionally. And the first thing I did was I took elements that were important to me in my history and things that I liked and things I thought were beautiful. So I started with Japanese architecture because I loved that, and I've had an interest in Japan. I lived in Japan for a while, and then I also chose penguins because that was always like a theme in my life since I was a kid. Like I had penguin stuffed animals and stuff and things, and I always thought penguins were funny and just cool, and they looked beautiful, and so I tried to combine those two. And my first explorations were with penguins, so it was like dancing penguins in these surreal like Japanese scenes, and then at one point I offered to do some concert visuals for an artist named Young Bae, and they were like, "Yeah, sure, that's cool, but can you try it out with some flamingos?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll try that." So I started making some work, and they started using it, and it was with dancing flamingos instead of dancing penguins.
Yeah.
Um, and then since then, I've stuck with like the dancing bird theme because I like the idea of having like a comedic element in my work. So the way I've tried to make people smile and the way I've introduced a comedic element is like silly dancing birds contrasted with these like really intricate, bizarre, surreal worlds. So it's like combining, something silly and absurd with something like really, really serious and like really, really planned and intricate. So that juxtaposition is how I aim to make people smile. So long story short, uh, dancing birds. I ended up doing flamingos. From starting to work with that artist Young Bae, and then just kept going with it. I've tried a bunch of other birds. I've done seagulls, I've done puffins, and I keep coming back to flamingos. I don't know. I think from an animation perspective, I find them really fun to work with. They're really expressive. They're really exaggerated. You can get a lot of really like big movements and their necks flopping around, and you can exaggerate how high they're jumping and things like that, and their legs stay really long. Like it's a very fun, very
Yeah.
fun bird to animate. There's a lot of expression you can do with it. So
Yeah.
that's why I keep coming back to the flamingos. But yeah,
I can see here there's a mix of flamingos and penguins, so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
combining the
Yeah,
two.
exactly. There are a few of my loops that I made before I started tokenizing stuff that were more like flamingos and penguins. Then there's one where they're on the beach and they're like seagulls in there too. So, it's kind of a little of everything. But yeah, I'm looking forward to actually coming back to penguins and exploring that a little more because I got these better penguin models, which you can see in this one actually. And in this case, I turn those into like wooden sculptures kind of, but I do have plans
Yeah.
to start playing with some more animations and yeah, get back to some penguins, do them how I initially hoped to. Now that I have a few more years of doing this under my belt, I think I
And
can do it. I think I can do it justice this time.
100%. And just like another question, you
Yeah.
said before, like birds. Is there a particular reason for like choosing in general, out of all the animals, like birds specifically?
That's a good question. I think I've always just found birds really funny. They're just very silly to me. The way they look around, they have like very, like quick movements, and I don't know if I like look at the birds outside my window, I always end up laughing at some point. They're just very like they're like little cartoon characters, you know, they're very silly looking to me. So yeah, I don't know, I just like them.
That's cool. That's funny. And actually, penguins are a very funny type of bird. So
yeah, exactly. I think they're very silly looking. They're very clumsy. Yeah, they're cute, hilarious. So I'll keep doing the birds. I think I'll keep working with those for a while.
Stick with the birds.
Yeah, I think I got a thing going here.
And obviously another of your recurring kind of like themes in your work is the seamless loops.
Totally.
It's kind of, I guess like a trademark, if you could say, about your work. Again, like, why seamless loops, and how have they become such an integral part of what you do?
Sure. Seamless loops, I don't know, there's something I've really enjoyed about making a piece of work that's an animation that you can sort of look at for as long as you want, and you're getting the whole thing, if that makes sense. Like with a short film, you have to sit and you watch the entire film to like get the whole story, basically. But I find seamless loops so interesting because you can make a loop and you can design it in a way where you're seeing the whole story at once. Like you could pause it and you can have the whole story in an image, but also if you let it run, you get bits of the story and you get more detail in certain moments. So I think seamless loops are just a really fun medium where you can basically pull someone in for as long as they want to look at it. You know what I mean? It's like the viewer sort of becomes a part of the experience in a way, and they get to decide how deep they want to go into the work and what they want to look at, and how much time they want to spend on the details. And it's also just fun from like a problem solving point of view. Like I think in the beginning it kind of started as a challenge, like what can I do that I can still make loop, and how complicated can I get and still make it loop? Can I make, at first it started with just the camera sort of moving in a straight line, and then it was rotating, and then it was scaling. So it's like, can I make something where it scales up but it still loops? Like, can I get back to that? So it's definitely sort of like a problem solving challenge for me too. And I really like solving problems and, doing puzzles and things like that. So it's definitely just part of the process for me. I just really enjoy it. And then also I would say historically, like if I'm like psychoanalyzing myself and I'm like, why do I do seamless loops? One of my first jobs was I was working at The Onion, and I was doing graphics for The Onion. The Onion is it's like a parody newspaper, and they also have a parody like TV network and stuff. So one of my first jobs was making graphics for The Onion. And I had to make like TV show packages and stuff because they pretended to be a news show essentially. So there are all these elements where it's like I'm making a lower third, or I'm making like a background or something, and all those had to loop every single time because they're putting them up for however long they need it. So right from the beginning, when I was first getting into 3D, I was always having this mindset of I need to figure out how to make this loop, So I do have a feeling that doing that so much in the beginning is something that sort of got me into that way of thinking of like, how can I make this perfect? How can I make it so the viewer can look at it as long as they need to, and it'll still be there. It'll still loop. So
yeah, and like there's something with loops that you could, as you said, you can just look at them and just keep looking at them, and it's still interesting, even though you're essentially kind of like looking at the same thing, but it's very captivating.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
And actually you talked about like learning how obviously to do these loops, and I guess parts of like a lot of what you're doing as well is your tutorials. Sure. So you're basically like helping others kind of create what you've built and what you've learned, which is amazing. I just wanted to know a little bit more about that, and also if you're thinking about maybe like expanding this for, I guess, maybe new artists coming into the space, or what are your thoughts around that?
So tutorials, let me see, I think I started doing tutorials because the first one I ever did was like I was trying to figure out how to do something and I couldn't find a way to do it, and then finally after a lot of research I figured out how to do it. And I made a tutorial just to show people like, hey, this is how you do this thing. And I just found it really rewarding to to like share that knowledge and give back and like see other people be like, oh my God, I was looking for this. So then I just started doing it with some of my techniques because people were asking me, they're like, how do you make this loop? How do you do this? So I started making a tutorial series. I have a few tutorials on YouTube where I break down sort of like a bunch of my looping techniques and like gradually more and more complex loops. Like what I said before, there's a position one, and then there's a rotation one, and then there's a scale one. So it's sort of breaking them down in order. So people who are interested in that kind of stuff can hopefully follow along and learn something from it, you know. But yeah, I'd like to do more tutorials. I think, you know, I've gotten kind of like sucked into the crypto art world for the last 9 months or whatever it's been. But I'd really like to come back. But I'd really like to come back and start focusing a little bit more on education. So yeah, there are definitely some ideas I have, some tutorials planned. So keep an eye out for that. I really enjoy doing them, and I love helping people learn. You know, it's like the least I can do. I learned so much from the internet, and there's so many people who taught me. So I'd love to get back.
And that's, you know, it's very cool if you think about even like, you know, new artists entering the space. Like, you know, there's so much that everybody can learn from each other. So like it's a great way to do that and to share, you know, knowledge. I love that.
Thanks. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, we're all a community, so I feel like we got to help each other out. You know, that's how it's going to grow. That's how it's going to evolve. That's how new styles are going to emerge. You know, I think that's how a lot of art, you know, new artistic developments or discoveries or styles, they usually come out of like learning from something or taking something that exists and evolving it or adapting it or combining two things or, you know, discovering an intersection of multiple fields or styles or something. So I think for us to evolve as artists, as a community, I think we all got to get back and share, and, you know, you never know what's going to come out of it, you know? Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And actually on that note, your last tokenized piece on Super Rare, Leap of Faith. Well, first of all, I think the name is, you know, your leap into being a full-time crypto artist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. And you also, you know, you're collaborating with another artist on this piece. Like just, you know, on collaborations. And I guess, you know, like, is this, you know, on sharing like knowledge and stuff like that, like what does this specific piece mean to you? And also are you expecting to do more collaborations of this kind?
Yeah, definitely. I love collaborations. I love collaborating with artists who have like a very distinct style, because when you collaborate with someone like that, you can see the elements of each collaborator's style, and it's like a chance to see something that's never been done before, which I think is so cool and so interesting. I've done a few collaborations, and I always try to pick collaborators where that kind of result's going to emerge, and I love seeing the results. It's just really cool to make something that where you know, you get to highlight an artist's strengths and see what they can bring to it, and see a piece of themselves in it, you know. So yeah, this collaborate, I've been wanting to work with, this is by Joe. His handle is JN3008. And he makes all these incredible math loops, all these weird fractal things and these different patterns and shapes that somehow line up. Like, the stuff he does blows my mind. And he does it all with code. Like, he codes this stuff. So it's really above me, and I really, really respect it. So I've been seeing him do work on like Reddit and stuff for years. And you'd make all these little loops and GIFs that go viral and everything. And they're just fascinating. So I really wanted to collaborate with him, and finally got the chance to. So it was really really fun, because we're both like interested in math, and we like, you know, we appreciate the beauty of mathematics and stuff. So it was really, really exciting to get to work on a piece where, you know, we're both trying to showcase that and highlight it.
And did you reach out to him, or was he like, is he already like, is he into like the crypto scene, or was it like completely new thing for him?
That's a good question. I know he's in the crypto scene. I know he's done a collaboration with Arc4G.
Yeah.
So he's definitely in it. He had some releases on Foundation too.
Okay, good. And,
yeah, I don't remember who reached out to who, but I remember it was like we both enthusiastically were looking forward to working with each other, because we're both into the math stuff. So Yeah,
And
no, I loved it.
what do you mean when you say, sorry, into the math stuff? What does that mean exactly?
Sure. I think we both have an appreciation for math, essentially. You know, I've
Okay.
done some other loops in the past that were like focusing on some kind of mathematical principle. Like I've done stuff with, you know, the Fibonacci spiral and with Sierpinski triangles, which are those pyramids that keep going into each other. And you know, then the Nifty Gateway drop was with the golden triangle, where it's a similar
Yeah.
thing where it's like a triangle can be in a triangle, can be in a triangle. So math is a huge inspiration for me, because I think there's so many like beautiful patterns and shapes that just exist, and they're very simple and elegant, but
Yeah.
they seem really, really complex, and it's hard to get your mind around it. But you can break it down to a function or a number, you know, a number of degrees in a triangle, and that makes this magical triangle that loops forever. So it's a huge source of inspiration for me. So
Yeah.
his work also seems to highlight, you know, patterns that are based in mathematics and stuff. So yeah, that intersection of our interests, you know, we both liked, you know, we both like math and want to show the kind of stuff that math can do. Yeah, it was really a perfect collaboration. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Actually, I was speaking yesterday with Josh on on the live stream. He was also talking about like collaborating, like coding and art, you know, coming together.
Sure.
And like I think it's super cool that that is happening like in the space, because it's, you know, it's two worlds that especially can live in the blockchain like really well.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting to see like more of these, you know, collaborations like happen.
That's a great point. Yeah, because it really was like kind of a cross like a cross-platform thing, you know, because he's in like animation via code, you know, which is,
Yeah.
I'm doing like 3D stuff. So he coded a thing, and then you had the animation in 2D, and then he brought it into Blender, and then I took that into C4D. So we like made it translate, and yeah, it's cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's super cool. And actually, you mentioned your Nifty drop, which was the last one. I also was looking back onto your Nifty drop around December, the Creating Infinity. You mentioned it before. So you obviously describe it as like reimagining the context of an exhibit in like a modern museum, which I thought was like really interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of like, you know, talk about that a little bit and what was your inspiration there. And I guess, you know, building like a bridge between these two, like, you know, a museum and a Nifty drop
Sure.
was interesting.
Sure. Yeah. No, that was one of my favorite things I've ever made. It was so much fun to explore. I think it started from, you know, that was, you know, a little bit earlier in the crypto space. And the collection I did before that was also kind of a similar thing, where it was like these things that could be physical objects, but they're not. And, you know, when I first got into crypto, there's all these questions about like, what is value here? What is art? What is something worth? How, you know, and I kind of wanted to make something that sort of bridged the gap between like fine art and crypto art. Because when I first got in, it was very early, and it was mostly like digital artists and technologists and coders and people interested in crypto, and it was a very like tech-centric thing. And I wanted to try to bring something that was like, what if like the fine art world was in here? And then I was like, well, I can make something that's like in a museum, you know, like I have the potential to do that. So I wanted to explore what it would be like to sort of take my animations and just the, you know, the flamingo animation, that's basically what it's all based on. I was like, how can I sort of reimagine this in the context of like, what if this was a fine art exhibit? You know, what would it be like to walk through that? What would it be like to like see this stuff in front of you? You know, I was sort of trying to like, let's see, because I had all these questions of like, you know, digital art versus physical art, and which is which, and why are they different? And you know, I was being very introspective about trying to, I don't know, figure out the whole thing and see what see how it affects you differently if it's in front of you and if it's just a thing on a screen. Because that's the big question. You know, everyone says, oh, it's just on the screen, you can't put it in your house. And it's like, so there are all these different emotional responses to digital art versus physical art. So I thought it'd be interesting to basically make a series that sort of tapped into like the emotional response from viewing physical art and like having physical art. Like, what if you had crypto art, but it was a physical art object? You could see it in a museum. You know, I wanted to basically make something that was a physical art, fine art piece, but I wanted to use digital techniques to make things that you can't make in real life. You know what I mean? So I kind of wanted to combine the strengths of physical art that's in front of you and the emotions associated with that, and then also like the things that are possible with digital art that you couldn't really do in a physical world. So I was trying to basically find some interesting intersection between the two and just see what happens, you know? And then the whole underlying structure of it was the tutorial idea, which is, you know, I really like doing tutorials. I like teaching people. I love seeing people like get it, you know? So I wanted to make some kind of series that was essentially a tutorial. So it's like there's this final piece, and then you sort of see the steps in building that piece out and how I was conceptualizing it, and how I approached, like in my head, creating that to sort of explain how the final piece works, which is the big circle with the slices in it, where you can see the animation of the slices. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with that one. I'm really happy with how it came out, and it was cool to see the response to it too, you know.
And you mentioned like something that I think is very interesting, which is the intersection between like traditional art and digital art. And I guess, you know, even now, like more than ever, there's like this big question, you know, about like, oh, but I can't actually like have it in my house, or, you know, it's not an actual like physical painting, or so did you get some answers to those questions that you were asking yourself? Or, you know, is it questions that maybe, you know, you get asked, like, you know, from your friends or from, you know, your people that are around you?
Sure. I don't know if I have answers. I mean, it's still such like a philosophical debate almost, you know? In the end, I think it's like, this is all art, you know? There are different manifestations of art. Now we're in a digital age. People make things that are natively digital, you know, like the computer is a tool to create a piece of artwork, just like a paintbrush and a canvas, you know. I was doing an interview the other day, and there was a lot of questions about like, is crypto art this? Is crypto art that? Does crypto art have a soul, you know, like, or is it all digital? And it's like, well, it's just art, you know. Crypto art is art. It's just it's just you know, there are different tools and there are new techniques, and it's a new medium, you know. You can interact with people on a different level. There are all these new possibilities that are present now. You know, it's a whole new medium. It's a very social medium, which is cool. You can get people to interact with it in different ways. Like that was another thing with the that creating infinity thing is one of the things I did was on one of the pieces I had a QR code. It was like the front of an exhibit, and it was like, here's a little thing about the exhibit, and there was a QR code that said like, you know, for information. And if you scanned it, it would take you to a secret Nifty that was like a pamphlet that you'd get at the museum, you know? So it's like, that's another thing that's like, could you do this in another medium? You know, it's like, it's a new space. There's all this potential for social interaction, for getting people to interact with each other and interact with the art in new ways. So yeah, you know, you can't physically have it in front of you like a painting, but it's a different medium, you know. It's not a painting. It's a digital medium.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually on that, I think you recently wrote a great thread about, you know, crypto art, about advice for artists coming into the space, which I thought was genius. Like, to be honest, it was great what you wrote.
Thanks a lot.
I could relate to everything, and I think, you know, a lot of people did, apparently. So yeah, I just wanted to expand on that. Like, obviously, you know, you've mentioned like from somebody who's been in the space for a while and kind of really saw it, you know, grow essentially from as you said, like, you know, what is even crypto art to basically now being, you know, on everyone's mouth, like in all of the mass media. What you know, what are your thoughts, and especially, you know, what are your thinkings about people entering the space now?
It's a good question. In short, I think the main thing to consider is, to succeed here, I think you need to want to be an artist. You know, I think there are a lot of people who are coming in like, oh, maybe I can like make some money off the things I already made. Like, I've been a digital artist. Let me like sell these things. And I don't think it's a lasting strategy to make it as an artist. You know, I think to really be a crypto artist, I think you have to be part of the community. You know, you have to add to the conversation. But again, it's like art. It's like, you know, what art is the art that stands out, and what's remembered, and it's the art that said something new and said, what if we think about this in this way now, you know? And there's some kind of paradigm shift, and people say, oh yeah, I never thought about it from that point of view. You know, like that's the kind of art that adds to the whole conversation of what is art, and what is art in a community, and what does your art say? And yeah, so I think my advice to new artists would be, you know, treat it like a new medium, you know, and be true to yourself. Like, I know that's corny advice, like be yourself, but it's like, you know, that's what no one else can do. That's where you really have the potential to stand out, is if you're sharing new ideas that are a part of you and your history and your experience, you know, and your life experience, and your personality, and your likes, your dislikes, your traumas, your views, everything. Like, all of that is stuff only you can say. And you know, if you can articulate that while playing to your strengths, I think, you know, like utilizing skills that you've developed, you know, that's an advantage over someone else. So I think I think if you focus on that and try to really get yourself out there, I think over time, you know, people will pick up on that. I don't think any success in crypto art is instant. You know, I think everyone who's at a high position, I think they've gotten there because they've had this slow build over time, you know, over months or years, you know, and yeah, it's definitely an advantage and a privilege to get in early. You know, I won't discount that. That's a huge advantage. But, you know, those who got in early, and those who are at the top now, like they're the ones who kept grinding. You know, they kept it up. So I think, you know, for new artists, be the best version of the artist version of yourself you can. Be original, and be patient, I guess, you know, and do it because you love making art. Do it for the art, do it for yourself, and have no expectations. You know, that's what I've been doing for months at this point. It's just the whole time I've been like, I have no expectations. I'm just going to do what I can and try to do something unique and say something new and say something in the context of the community. And yeah. I guess that's it. I feel like that was kind of rambly, but
no. It's I'm like listening that. with pleasure. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, community is a huge part of this. I think, you know, it's like
it's a big part of it.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I feel like it's really as well like connections, and just, you know, chatting to people as well as part of you know, the bigger picture and the ecosystem. So that's definitely something that has to, you know, keep being nurtured and worked on as well.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think it's just being a bigger part of a whole, you know, and contributing something in that context.
Yeah, 100%. And is there anything that's coming up for you, projects that you're working on? What can we expect?
That's all I'm doing now, working on projects. Yeah, no, I have a lot of things in the works. There are a bunch of collaborations with different artists, visual artists, a few collaborations with music artists, which I don't want to spoil yet. You know, the stuff's still in the works. Yeah, no, there are a lot of collaborations in the works. It's just exciting to work with people and learn from people, and, you know, mix the styles together and see what comes out. That's so there's a lot of stuff in the works. I'm very excited to show it. So
great. Well, it was amazing to speak to you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really great.
Thanks so much for the time. It's been amazing. So yeah, thanks a lot, and also thanks to our sponsor, who is B20 for this month.
Great.
So yeah, speak soon. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.